Time for Pop Off Politics, the only segment in town dedicated to show you how elected officials in the city of Houston plan to spend your hard-earned dollars. Tracking all of this for us this morning, KPRC2 investigator Mario Diaz. Welcome back.
Good morning.
Sir. Good morning.
It's the start of the rodeo. Everyone's exciting, but we're here talking about the rodeo that is City Council, and they've got agenda
Quite the
items.
show in itself.
Well, we've got a new City Council. We've got these guys that got elected back in November. We got a new mayor, so the dynamics are a little bit different. And you know, one of the first things we saw in terms of dynamics was a change of personnel, and now City Council is starting looking at that.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I know we're not going to get into this today. We're going to talk about Houston airport system, but I want to tell you, I did not have the opportunity. I was invited to go down to his animal welfare address, first ever.
Oh, yeah.
And it was very well received by many people.
You're talking about Mayor Whitmire.
Mayor Whitmire, yes.
Right.
Elected officials there standing by his side.
He went to the HFD.
Crime Stoppers.
He went to HFD's cadet graduation last week. First time that's happened in years. So we're starting to see a change. And again,
words are becoming action. A lot of Houstonians are talking about that and noticing.
Well, to an extent so far, because still there's a big issue. We'll talk about that one a little bit later. But we're talking about personnel too.
Yes.
You're seeing a change in the personnel, and that's what we're talking about this week.
Okay, so let's get into it. I know that you've covered so many. How many now? Several investigations since 2018.
Carry out two.
Basic mathematics, but there are so many reports. I know that you've talked about, you've also, covered extensively Mario Diaz, the former airport director. No relation to you.
No relation.
Want to make that clear. Yep. We're going to get into all of that in just a few minutes, but today we want to talk about the new director, right?
Jim Cisniak.
Yes, confirmed.
Yeah, well, he's going to go through the confirmed process.
He's going to go through
that's pretty much a done deal.
Yeah.
That's Jim right there.
Right there.
That's Jim right there. That's Jim Cisniak.
Dapper looking dude.
Yeah, he is. And let me tell you a little bit about Jim, okay? This is going to be agenda item number 3. And there's not going to be too much change in leadership here because Jim used to be the number 2 under the old guy, Mario Diaz. Again, no relation.
Yeah.
And what we know about Jim Cisniak was that he was named the interim director back on February 3rd. If you remember, that was the date we first learned that Mario Diaz resigned, only to have, Mayor Whitmire tell me at the time, oh, if that's what he wants to call it. So that's the mayor. That's how he said it. I'm quoting him there. And we do know that the moment that happened, the moment that change took place, right? They put in the chief operating officer, which was Jim Cisniak, the gentleman you just saw there, to be in charge of this place. Not only just Bush, but also Ellington, also Hobby, and Intercontinental. Now, what do we know about Jim? Well, he started in 2022, came down from Anchorage, Alaska.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he was the operations guy up there, or the director up in Anchorage, I should say.
That's a big jump.
That is a big jump.
That's a huge jump.
But guess where he started? He started in the 3rd largest city before that. I should say
Chicago?
Where he was before that. Yeah, it was Chicago. He was O'Hare as airport operations supervisor. So if you think about O'Hare, one of the biggest airports in the entire world.
Massive.
Yeah, they see tons of flights. Very busy. Airport operations supervisor. But at the end of the day, it comes back to being able to operate this airport properly.
Yeah.
That's the key thing.
Yeah, properly, right?
Right.
Key word. Okay, so since 2018, you've done many investigations into the Houston airport system.
Right.
And while they all have very large implications, what investigation, in your opinion, has had the largest impact?
That's a great question, because there's been so many investigations here that we've done. And let me run these down over here if we can get it on this camera, because I'm gonna count them down like here if we can get it on that camera. There was in 2018, you had the chief auditor, Kertisha Mond. I mean, she was forging doctor certificates, right? 2018, you had the Mickey Leland International, Mickey Leland International Terminal Project. You had hundreds of millions of dollars that were being mishandled, according to the controller for the airport, about $156 million, controller for the city of Houston, Chris Brown. What we exposed then was that they spent about $85 million in the first part of that report and had nothing to show for it. Zach, you asked a good question. Zach, this is your question right here. Which was a big investigation?
Yeah.
Marvin Agumagu. Yeah, Marvin Agumagu, 2019, he was the intern. If you recall, Mayor Turner said, I don't really know this guy. The fact of the matter is, he did know Marvin. He gave him a $96,000
Right, this was the intern.
This was the intern.
Oh, I remember this one.
Yeah, that was. This
was before I got here, but I remember this one.
And that was a big one. And why? Because you saw people who were close to the previous mayor, Sylvester Turner, landing incredible opportunities. In this case, a $96,000 a year internship.
As an intern.
As an intern. And by the way, there was no school credit applied here. He'd already graduated. All right. So the next investigation we're going to talk about was the girlfriend, Maricela Cruzman. We highlighted that one in 2021, although Maricela Cruzman and Mario Diaz had been together since about 2013. She was the airport director's girlfriend. He put her in charge of the live music that they have inside the airport system. And this all developed overnight. So she went from being in one office within the city of Houston to suddenly being the director of the Houston Airport System live music program. Mario Diaz, the boyfriend, was signing off on her expense reports. Can't do that, according to many people I spoke to within the city. But he was doing it, sending her on trips as the airport director's girlfriend, and at the same time, she was in charge of the music. All right, Jason Yu, 2022. Boy, there's a lot of them.
There are so many.
There's a lot. Jason Yu, 2022, he and William Paul Thomas, we showed
the Porsche.
There's a Porsche partnership, but what we showed was that Jason Yu had accrued all these fines. Hundreds of thousands, around $861,000, I believe. And what happened was William Paul Thomas, who worked over here in the mayor's office, I'm going to just move a little bit, sorry about that. He works over here. He has nothing to do with what's over here. Come back to the airport. He has nothing to do with the airport. But William Paul Thomas was negotiating on behalf of Jason Yu in emails that we saw and you saw that we reported to help get those fines dismissed. Last year, man, I need a couple of water.
What year is this now? 2023.
I need a glass of water. There's so many investigations.
Or a beer.
You had the Pappas fallout, right? The Pappas fallout in 2023, that's the whole food fight that we had with Arias, that company in Spain coming in through the parent, the company in Spain having the smaller company out of Miami called Arias that suddenly came in and kicked Pappas out of Hobby Airport. We also talked about MCD Aero LLC. This is the limited liability corporation that the airport director created. Again, he created this while he was the airport director. Really? Not a good thing, according to many people I spoke to. And here we are in 2024. We're going to go back to Zach now and I. Here we are in 2024, and you have Jim Cisniak now in charge.
This guy.
Well, he was there a second.
He was there,
and I think what's going to be important here is you have to remember that the airport has about
And that's huge. They need to get this right.
They do need to get that.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. And I suspect what's going to happen here, Zach, is that you're going to see Jim go back and look at some of the stuff that we've exposed. And some of it they're going to just say,
I was just going to ask you, I'm assuming he's privy to it all, getting himself into this situation, just how big.
Well, I'll tell you, we're working on an investigation right now that we're going to be bringing to viewers here in a couple of weeks that the airport and the mayor really didn't have answers for us on. And in fairness, this wasn't really their operation. This was all being done under Mario Diaz. Again, no relation.
No relation.
Right. So this is an investigation that's going to be, you're going to start seeing some changes, and we'll see what Jim's made of, right?
Yeah.
And I think he's probably going to be looking at some of these old contracts. He's going to be looking at Arias and say, is Arias making more money than Pappas?
Yeah.
That's a big thing a lot of people are talking about. Is Arias making more money than Pappas? And if they are, then hey, that was a great deal. Everybody talked about it. But if Arias is not making more money than the Pappas, then you'll probably be looking at that contract and see that change, all right? So
so often we see these new heads come into these positions and they're just in over their heads. There's so much work to be done. So time will tell with this one. As always, if you have any questions, concerns that you want this guy to look into, this is your time to shine right here.
mdiaz@kprc.com. Nailed that one.
Okay, you did.